Good morning. If I ask you which country you would prefer to work in, what would you answer me? Is it A, the land of cheese and wine? Is it B, the land of beer and waffles? Or C, it doesn't matter. I think both countries are the same. I expected most of the people to answer C, because this was also my first opinion. But is this really the case? As a student, international entrepreneurship, I thought it would be very interesting to investigate this. I always notice that students have the intention, when going abroad, to go as far as possible. But is it really necessary to experience big differences? Let's find out how it is between Belgium and France. My investigation is based on an interview with Geert Rombout. Geert Rombout is an expat of 52 years old. He is also a civil engineer who went to France for 4 years. On top of that, also the Hofstede comparison tool will be used during this investigation. In the following graph, there are 3 topics that I would like to give some more information about. These topics are power distance, uncertainty avoidance, and masculinity. Let's start with the power distance. Even if you study or work in Belgium, there is a good chance that you will come in contact with French culture for certain purposes anyway. For these reasons, I think it is not unimportant to mention that in France, just like in Belgium, we expect the necessary respect in terms of higher positions in a company. It is an illusion to think that while crossing the borders, also the borders between employees and bosses are disappearing. This is something that should certainly be kept in mind. It is also important to make the necessary nuances in this respect. With a score of 68 on the scale of the Hofstede comparison tool, we still notice some room for creating relationships within a French company. It is therefore not the case that employees just have to agree without any hesitation with the decisions taken by their bosses. Just as in Belgium, there is still room for asking each other questions and giving personal input as a staff member within a French company. This nuance was also strongly emphasized by Mr. Rombout himself. Unfortunately, I will have to disappoint those who hoped for a plot twist, because also in the section of uncertainty avoidance, we see strong similarities between France and Belgium. At first, it is very striking how high both countries score in this area. France has a score of 86% and Belgium of no less than 94%. So if you are a student looking for a place where peace and quiet is the general atmosphere, then France is not the best idea. Everything is worked out in detail by French people. Without structure, there is continuous chaos in France. France is a country where people don't live from day to day. Here, in France, just as in Belgium, it is a real battle to know as much as possible in advance so that the future won't bring any unpleasant surprises anymore. After these similarities, it is time to increase the tension just a little. To this end, I would like to introduce you to a remarkable difference between the two countries. The fact is that France is a more feminine country than Belgium. This means that in France there is more attention for the quality of life. When you do something, it is because you want to do it and you like to do it, not because you need to do it or you are forced to do it. On top of that, in France, it is less likely than in Belgium to work overtime. This is because the general mindset within the business world is that there must be a good work-life balance in France. This is accompanied by sufficient time for friends, family, and hobbies. These aspects can outweigh the stressful atmosphere we just talked about as a result of an uncertain future. This gives this country a more attractive character to work in. Don't you think so? Now it's time for some conclusions. The purpose of this presentation was to give you some more insight into the comparison between France and Belgium. I am therefore convinced that many of you have been able to clearly decide if France is a foreign experience that you want to take or not. On the basis of my findings, I can conclude that France is ideal for someone who wants to expand his international skills without having to abandon his habits abruptly. It is actually the ideal country to take the first step into a further international career. It can serve as a kind of intermediary in your international career. Furthermore, France is not really an option for people who want to get to know a completely new culture. As Geert Rombach mentioned in the interview, French people are, against all odds, pretty much the same as Belgians. But despite this conclusion, it does not alter the fact that it is an enormous life experience. You leave your safe home, you learn to live independently, you learn to communicate in a foreign language, and much more. Before wrapping up, I would like to share a tip with you that I got from Mr. Rombach himself. It is a useful tip for everyone, young and old, who wants to go abroad. This tip is the following. In any country you end up, is it France or Africa, with the right motivation and the necessary knowledge of languages, you can get everywhere. With these words, I would like to finish my presentation, and I am happy to answer any questions you may have. I thank you for your attention.